Welcome back to the RC Mike channel. We're going to return to the build here with the man array. I'm going to start with the shocks where we left off. We'll get these built and then move on to the rest. Now when doing these, you're going to have to put the ends on, of course. So what I do is I take the pliers and I wrap them up with a little bit of tape, painter's tape. Usually I use my needle nose. I'll get them out later because they don't work on the backs on this one, but this is all I could find right now. But let's get going here. So we'll get those all done, mounted up. There you go. We'll get the servo out. We'll get that all done and set up, ready to go. There's the rear ones. And next there's the servo. We'll get that set up. Alright, midway through the build. And here we are. Get the chassis down, get the little brace for the switch in there, even though the new switches don't fit. Get that all set up. Got our front and rear all done. And we're working our way through here. It's looking good. Fun little build. Doesn't take too long. But it is fun. I like it. It's relaxing me, which is a good thing, and I needed that. So anyway, I'm going to continue on the build. We're going to get the electronics in here today. And then I might take a break for a little bit before I do the steering, I'm not sure. So we got to do the steering, get the front and rear hooked up. Bumpers and tires and stuff's all that's left. So, working our way. Looking good. Heavy little buggy. You wouldn't think it'd be so heavy, but it's a heavy little buggy. Anyway, let's get back to work. So here we'll get the links set up for the steering and get all that stuff together there. Pretty simple to do. If you didn't see my trick with getting the links ends set with a little screw, sometimes you need to do that, sometimes you don't. Most of these went on just fine, so I didn't have to. So that was here. You got to get the washer between there and the other part, so I just put a little grease on there to hold that thing in place. Makes life a lot easier, and that way they don't fall out, because you got to have two on at once. And you got to tilt it to get that all in there, and yeah, so I just grease them on there, holds it in place. So there we go, everything's all set up. There's your servo in there, the motor, the rear's all hooked up. That's what she looks like. And then we'll go on to the full done chassis here in a second. There we go. And yeah, some pictures of that. And then we'll move on to the rest of it. Welcome back to the man array build. Sorry, it's my alcohol. We're going to be doing the body today. We finished the chassis in the last videos. There's my wing all cut out. There's my body all cut out and cleaned. To prep it, I washed it with soap, dish soap, to get everything off. And this is a bottle of 80% alcohol that I use for cleaning stuff like this. I used a little 220. And no, it's cut off, but there it is, 220, to sand the edges, make everything smooth and nice. I cut my body out with two different pairs of Lexan scissors, one curved, one straight. Here's the curved guys, and that's how I roll. I got the cab taped off, and then I cleaned everything with alcohol again. Well, for the first time. The taped off part will be black. The rest of it, I am going with PS63 bright gunmetal. Now, the book says to use silver. Okay, you get the nice silver. I don't like silver. I'm not a big silver fan. I don't like the light color. Not that I hate it. My truck's silver. What are you going to do? I've owned 2 silver trucks and it ain't my favorite color. But I do like the darker gunmetal better. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to go with because, yeah, I can. You know, when you're buying a vehicle, you buy it because you can afford it. Sometimes, you know, if that's your case in life. That is my case, especially when I bought the vehicle in 2009 for work. It was silver. It was a great price. You can't pass it up. That's a different story. But, you know, like I said, the last one, we got everything built. I've ran it around on the carpet in my house a little bit just to make sure everything runs properly. And wow, what a car. This thing got some tight drive radius. It's amazing. I've never owned a buggy like this. This is the closest thing I've ever gotten to any kind of fancy thing. I did have an RC10 GT when I was a kid that I saved up a bunch of money for. Brought it over to a local shop and they pretty much screwed me around and lost my car eventually. And yeah, long story short, that place was horrible and had a bunch of horror stories, but it was one of the few places around here. Back then it was one of the only places near me, and I've bought cars there in the past and they were always good. And then towards the end they just stopped wanting to deal with RC and only wanted to do trains. And pretty much if you didn't buy the kit from them, didn't want to deal with you, period. Even though, you know, they advertise repairs and stuff, it was a bunch of BS. It turned me off to the hobby for a long time. Then the T-Max 2.5 came out. And I was doing plumbing at that point, and one of the guys I worked with had a 1.5 T-Max, and he's like, yeah, this thing's awesome, dude. And I saw him running it one time, and it was pretty freaking cool. So then I, you know, spent some money on a T-Max 2.5, which I still have. Love that car too. But you know, that's enough of me babbling. I've only had hoppers for the most part. I got the Clodbuster over there. The closest thing that comes anywhere near this would be my Frog, which to compare to this is like there is no compare. I'm sure there's no compare to this to something that's nicer than this. But for $125 kit, I don't think you're getting much better than this. I'm going to be honest. It might not be perfect. It might not be great. You know, if you're running this thing hard, I'm sure you're going to break some stuff on it. It's all plastic. But for $250, you can get the TO2 BR with all the goodies and fancy aluminum and stuff like that. For $125, I really don't think you're going to get much better driving of a kit. I was really, really, really impressed on how well it did drive. Now, that being said, this is kind of a shelf queen for me, so I'm really not going to be running this hard, and I don't want to run these wheels and tires because look at them, they just look cool. So I might buy a spare set of tires and wheels to run. But who knows, I might just run it with these for once or twice just around, just to do it. But if I really drive it, I probably would buy another set of wheels and tires. Other than that, I don't know. There is no tracks by me. There's tracks about an hour from here. My backyard's probably way too grassy and lumpy for something like this. I can run, you know, my Claude, my lunchbox, that kind of thing, your monster truck type stuff. gas powered. It's too small for street riding around here. Ain't gonna happen because I live on a busy street and you basically dodging cars every 5 seconds. So I usually go to the park. Last time I was there, I know I said I'm gonna stop babbling, but you know, some lady with her dogs off her leash came and started attacking my car. So that was a lovely day. That was the day I broke the pumpkin. I don't think I put that in the video just because I found it quite rude that your dog's off a leash when there are signs everywhere saying it's a $2,000 fine. And yet people still do this dumb shit. But, you know, that's just me. My dog's always on a leash there. So, anyway, let's get to painting. What I'm going to do is a few light sprays. I'm not going to film it. I'm sorry. I'll take some pictures in between coats and that kind of thing. Not spraying spray paint near my phone. Sorry, I film with my phone. But we're going PS63. So that's going to look pretty nice. It'll be a little darker than that. I do believe that Adam's Playground, same color on his. And it came out really nice. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw it, like 90% sure. And it came out really nice, so I stole it from him, the color. Yeah, beautiful. Tell you, just a little super stock RZ in there, and it runs great. I sure as hell probably would not put brushless into this thing, because, whoa, you will probably snap some shit real quick. I'm just saying. That's my experience with brushless. This thing was brushless. That's why it doesn't have a front tire. This thing was brushless. That's why it's got metal plates and no front tire. Plus, I let my 5-year-old grandson drive it on the beach, and he was rolling that thing and tumbling, and so was I, because we were having a blast. Fun little truck. This thing is not brushless, and it's still beat up. But that's just the way I roll. I'm crazy like that. But anyway, I'm sorry for babbling so much. Let's get the paint in here. Yeah, and we'll get this thing stickered up after that, and it'll be our last video. I split the build up in 2 videos just because I don't want them to run long. There are a few little tricks and tips I put in there that I found helpful. Because there are some things that are pain in the butt. Steering knuckles, that kind of thing. You don't want to mess them up. And like I said, got a cheapy little servo in there, nothing crazy. 22 kilo. I'd love something a lot faster, but for this car, it's good enough. I mean, shoot, I'm not racing it or anything. I don't even know where the closest racetrack to me is, like an hour away. Sorry, it ain't gonna happen. I don't got that kind of time. One thing that I would do if I, had the patience to do, probably bring that blue line right around that edge there. But that ain't gonna happen, and I'd probably paint in there black, just because. Details. But you got the sticker for there. Here, I think that'd be cool if the cockpit was outlined in blue, just like in there. But I don't have, I ain't my kind of skills. I'm good, I ain't that good, you know what I mean? But anyway, let me get the painting before it gets cold out. It's just at what it should be outside, so I can paint today. Here's a few pictures of me starting to paint in the first coat and everything, and there it's the finished product, and starting to put the stickers on, and that's where I ended up, and we'll get her out for a run video soon.